Trump's harsh tariffs have completely backfired. Now, 10 major countries are turning their backs on the US and choosing to partner with Singapore instead. Find out which nations are ditching the American economy and racing to strike deals with this rising Asian powerhouse. Number 10. Brazil. While the United States intensifies its use of tariffs, Brazil is discreetly turning its attention eastward towards Singapore. This South American giant is finding a more welcoming trade environment in Singapore, where its agricultural exports, such as soybeans and beef, are meeting growing demand without the complexities of a trade war. The relationship between Brazil and Singapore is developing based on mutual economic needs rather than political discord, offering Brazil a much-needed reprieve and Singapore a strategic move in its supply chain. The catalyst for Brazil's shift stems from the ripple effect of U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs, which severely impacted Brazilian exporters and forced them to re-evaluate long-standing partnerships. Instead of facing an uphill battle in Washington, Brazil is establishing smoother trade routes through Singapore. This is a logical pivot, especially as ASEAN markets expand and embrace partners with fewer conditions. The result is strengthened ties and accelerated growth. Number 9. Turkey. Unlike many Western allies still grappling with Washington's unpredictability, Turkey is forging its own path. Facing increasing tensions with the U.S., Turkey is deepening its ties with Singapore, a country that offers neutrality without sacrificing economic opportunities. Turkish goods, particularly textiles and electronics, are now flowing more freely through Singaporean ports. This move is not just a business strategy. Turkey seeks fewer complications and greater flexibility. One primary reason for this shift is that U.S. sanctions and tariffs have made Turkey's traditional exports less profitable. In contrast, Singapore offers an environment free from political baggage or sudden policy shifts. Turkish businesses are accessing ASEAN markets through a stable, rules-based environment. They are not merely exporting products, they are exporting resilience, resulting in a fresh economic lifeline rooted in reliability and a long-term vision. Number 8. Egypt. In the shadow of Trump's tariffs, Egypt is charting a bold new course through Southeast Asia. Rather than relying on traditional trade partners entangled in political games, Cairo is partnering with Singapore to facilitate smarter and faster movement of goods. The Suez Canal is now connecting more directly with Singaporean ports, forming a new artery for global commerce. This shift is driven by pragmatism, not ideology. Egypt desires consistency, and Singapore delivers. While U.S. investment in Egypt has reportedly slowed, Singaporean firms are increasing their presence, particularly in infrastructure and smart city development. From the new capital city project to modern logistics hubs, Egyptian planners are seeking Singaporean expertise. This partnership is described as sleek, digital, and forward-thinking, emphasizing efficiency over drama. Egypt is not merely changing partners, it is upgrading its future. Number 7. Mexico. Mexico has grown tired of navigating a delicate relationship with Washington. After years of tension over tariffs, particularly under Trump's renewed protectionist stance, Mexico is seeking alternative, reliable trade routes. Singapore is rapidly ascending Mexico's list of preferred partners. From avocados to auto parts, Mexican exporters are redirecting their trade flows eastward, finding Singapore to be a dependable and efficient global gateway. This move is described not as rebellion but as essential for survival, and it appears to be effective. Trump's new wave of tariffs not only caused economic hardship but also sent a clear message to Mexico: diversify or remain vulnerable. Singapore offers what the U.S. no longer consistently guarantees: stability, access to booming ASEAN markets, and freedom from political turbulence. Even Mexico's electronics sector is reportedly rethinking its logistics chain, opting for Singaporean ports to bypass U.S. bottlenecks. This pivot is strategic, not merely symbolic. Number 6. Indonesia. Indonesia is quietly emerging as one of Southeast Asia's most strategic players, with Singapore at the center of this evolution. As Trump's tariffs compel countries to re-evaluate traditional trade loyalties, Indonesia is strengthening its ties with Singapore for smarter logistics, smoother exports, and regional technological cooperation. This partnership is described as both natural and tactical, with Indonesia viewing Singapore as a launchpad rather than just a neighboring country. American trade restrictions have complicated access to Western markets, especially for Indonesian electronics, textiles, and raw materials. In contrast, Singapore offers Indonesia frictionless access to global buyers through world-class infrastructure. With increasing U.S. red tape, Indonesian companies are opting for the less complicated path. For Jakarta, this also presents an opportunity to ascend without being embroiled in geopolitical tug-of-wars. Number 5. Germany. Germany does not wait for warning signs, it acts. As Trump's new tariffs target European automotive and industrial goods, Germany is recalibrating its global supply chains, with Singapore playing a pivotal role. This economic powerhouse is rerouting parts of its export routes through Singapore to circumvent delays, political risks, and trade friction. This is a precise and calculated move, a pragmatic response to an unpredictable partner. Rather than expending time lobbying Washington, German firms are investing in ASEAN through Singapore's frictionless trade environment. The EU-Singapore Free Trade Agreement has opened doors that Washington is now closing. German manufacturers perceive Singapore not merely as a port but as a reliable entry point into the rapidly growing Asia-Pacific region. They are rerouting their strategy, not just their goods. Number 4. South Korea. South Korea is reportedly weary of being an intermediary in someone else's trade war. As U.S. pressure mounts to limit high-tech exports to China, Seoul is quietly but decisively shifting its focus towards Singapore. The island nation offers something Washington currently cannot: neutrality. With Singapore serving as a transit and innovation hub, South Korea is moving its assets to a safer, smarter position in the global tech arena. Free trade agreements between the two countries are now reportedly carrying the bulk of the economic load. South Korean companies can access Southeast Asia's burgeoning markets without encountering the unpredictability of U.S. tariffs or export restrictions. Semiconductor giants and EV battery producers are discreetly rerouting supply chains using Singapore, not just for market access but for insulation. This pivot is born out of both necessity and strategic foresight. Number 3. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is rewriting its global strategy, and Singapore is now firmly integrated into its new script. As U.S. energy independence grows and political friction increases, Riyadh is increasingly focusing on Asia, where demand is booming and conditions are predictable. Singapore, with its unparalleled oil trading infrastructure, has become a vital node in Saudi export plans. This shift is not merely about oil barrels, it is about strategic direction. Trump's renewed tariff tactics and "America First" messaging have reportedly pushed Saudi investments away from Wall Street and towards Southeast Asia. The kingdom's public investment fund is allocating resources into Singaporean markets, tech hubs, and green infrastructure. This is described not as a retreat but as diversification. Saudi Arabia is ensuring that its Vision 2030 is not tied to the fluctuating moods of a single partner. Number 2. India. India is proactively building new trade routes to avoid being caught in global crossfire. As tensions escalate between the US and China, and Trump's tariffs disrupt global supply chains, India is prioritizing Singapore as a central hub. From pharmaceuticals to digital services, Indian exports are flowing through Singapore's ports and platforms, bypassing the complexities of Washington. This is described as a quiet revolution with significant consequences. Startups and tech giants in India are reportedly choosing Singaporean accelerators and investors over their U.S. counterparts. The rationale is clear. Singapore offers speed, structure, and neutrality. There is no visa uncertainty or trade war panic, just direct access to Southeast Asia and beyond. India envisions a future where agility is empowering, and Singapore is the gateway that remains consistently open. Number 1. China. China does not react, it recalculates. As Trump's tariffs escalate the long-standing trade war, Beijing is reportedly deepening its ties with Singapore, a trusted hub free from U.S. interference. Trade volumes between the two nations are rapidly increasing, with Singapore becoming a key artery for Chinese goods destined for global markets. This is described not as a simple adjustment but as a precise and intentional rewiring of the global system. One of China's most strategic moves involves using Singapore as a financial shield. With U.S. sanctions threatening Chinese banks and companies, Singapore offers a neutral space for clearing RMB transactions and managing capital flows. This provides a crucial counterbalance to Washington's grip on the dollar. Beijing is reportedly not just shifting money, it is shifting power. What are your thoughts on these shifts? Do you believe these countries are making a smart move by pivoting towards Singapore, or is the US losing its global influence faster than anticipated? How do you foresee this playing out in the next 5 years? Share your perspective in the comments.